There is a certain kind of news that does not come with a press conference, does not come with a team statement, but still makes real noise inside the halls of Foxborough. And today, the Patriots have too many signals flashing at the same time for this fan base to act like nothing is moving. A major defensive contract, an urgent offensive adjustment, roster digging, and a protection test. If you are tracking every clue with me, subscribe to the channel, because this is pure behind-the-scenes reading. The first signal is the kind that makes New England fans sit up a little straighter, because we are not talking about just any player here. We are talking about Christian Gonzalez, maybe the cleanest, most obvious, most valuable draft pick the Patriots have made in years. A cornerback with franchise pillar talent, elite traits, and the kind of presence that just feels built for Foxborough. So when there is contract noise, a missed minicamp, limited OTA participation, and a possible more cautious approach while the extension still has not happened yet, yeah, the concern is real. But look at the behind-the-scenes turn. A rumor surfaced that Gonzalez may have bought a home near Gillette Stadium. That is not a signature on paper. That is not the press conference with the jersey and the smile on stage. But in the NFL world, that kind of move makes you lift your head. A player thinking long-term usually does not treat housing like some random little detail, especially when a negotiation this big is still hanging around the building. And this is the part a lot of people outside New England might be missing. Gonzalez is not just another good defender to keep. He is the kind of piece that changes the entire temperature of the secondary. If the Patriots want to become a respected, physical, smart, hard-to-attack defense again, you do not play around with your best young corner. You do not let the situation rot because of optics or a slow process. Eliot Wolf and Mike Vrabel have already publicly pointed toward wanting Gonzalez as a face of this defense. The question behind the curtain is whether the Kraft family backs that talk when the serious money arrives. Because yes, the projection is a deal that could move the cornerback market. That is where the real pressure comes in. New England can talk about culture, future, standard, rebuild, but culture also means paying the players who carry the plan. If Gonzalez really is putting down roots near Foxborough, the optimistic read is simple. Maybe both sides are more aligned than the recent noise made it seem. I do not buy automatic panic here. I buy attention. I buy accountability. And more than anything, I buy the idea that this rumor landed at the exact moment this fan base needed a positive signal. Gonzalez has already said he would like to stay in New England, while leaving negotiations to his agent and the organization. Now, there may be a gesture of staying power. Behind the scenes, sometimes that is how the story begins. First the signal, then the announcement. That is exactly why the second story connects to the first in a very Patriots way. Building a roster is not just about keeping stars. It is also about fixing the ugly detail, the hole that shows up in June and becomes a September problem if nobody acts. Julian Hill's season-ending injury, before the ball even officially matters, hits a less flashy part of the offense, but a very important one for Drake Maye. Hill did not arrive as a headline name. He arrived as a role player, a tight end with the size to help in the run game, bring weight to heavier formations, protect the structure of the offense, and still give Maye another short option when things get tight. The 3-year, $15 million contract drew criticism, of course. A lot of people looked at it and wondered if the Patriots overpaid. But when a coach is building a game plan, that kind of player has value. You do not always see it in fantasy football. You see it on 3rd and short. You see it on a play-action look that has to sell run. You see it on the chip against an edge rusher before the route. With Hill out, Hunter Henry remains the lead name at the position, and Eli Raridun is an interesting rookie, but putting everything on that group would be asking the offense to lose margin. That is where Pharaoh Brown makes a whole lot of behind-the-scenes sense. He has already been in New England. He knows the demands of the building, and in 2023 he had the most productive season of his career. 13 catches, 208 yards, and 1 touchdown. Nobody is calling that star production. That is not the sell, but it is useful production inside a specific role. Brown's value is the fit. He blocks, handles contact, can play in heavy packages, and when the defense forgets about him, he can steal important yards. For an offense trying to make life easier on Drake Maye, that matters more than it looks. A young quarterback does not only need explosive weapons, he needs manageable downs, clean protection, formations that hide intent, and a veteran who does not get lost in the details. And there is another side to it, the one everybody in Foxborough knows matters: cost. Pharaoh Brown would probably be a cheap, familiar, functional addition. Not the signing that makes fans scream in the street, the signing an offensive coordinator quietly understands. If Hill's injury opened a door, Brown feels like one of those names who does not arrive to save a headline, but to stop a small problem from growing in the dark. Shifting from the offense to the other side of the trench, there is a story that looks small if you only chase headlines, but it is exactly the kind of story Mike Vrabel tends to value. Xavier Holmes came to the Patriots on a tryout with no draft pick weight, no red carpet, no guarantee. And still, he left rookie minicamp with a contract. To me, that has a very clear behind-the-scenes feel. The coach saw something that fits how he wants to build competition. Vrabel laid out the path without dressing it up. Holmes was productive in college, fell through the process for reasons that happen every year, arrived in Foxborough, and had to show the little things. Be coachable, make a mistake and fix it, show effort, show tools. To an impatient fan, that can sound basic. To a coaching staff trying to rebuild a standard, that is a roster filter. And his background is not empty. At Maine, Holmes had 6 sacks and 12.5 tackles for loss in 2024, with recognition in the CAA and across New England. Then he went to James Madison, became a starter, played 14 games, totaled 8 sacks, 4 pass breakups, and had 3 sacks in a conference championship game against Troy. The Patriots are not looking at a name pulled out of nowhere. They are looking at an edge rusher who produced, competed, and earned a chance because when the workout demanded a response, he responded. The most interesting part is the timing of the room. Harold Landry has been dealing with a knee issue from last season. Gabe Hakis, the second-round pick, has not signed his rookie contract yet. And when a pass rush room has that kind of opening, a player like Holmes does not have to become a star in July. He has to bother people. He has to earn reps. He has to make the coach look twice. That is how a strong roster starts building real depth, not just with big names, but with competitors who come in from the edges and force everybody else to raise the level. Vrabel calling that group good while still saying the team will keep trying to strengthen every position shows the mindset. Nobody is comfortable. Nobody is stamped safe just because they got here first. In Foxborough, if this new era really wants to earn respect again, that kind of competition has to be daily. And if the Xavier Holmes story shows Vrabel opening competition in the pass rush, the fourth story shows the same principle on the other side of the ball. The Patriots are still searching for protection. Even with the offseason program wrapped up, even with no open spot on the 90-man roster, New England brought in Gottlieb Ayedze for a workout. And when a team that already has 8 tackles under contract still tests one of the best names from the UFL, I do not see that as curiosity. I see that as an internal message. Ayedze is coming off a strong season with the Houston Gamblers, made the All-UFL team, and started 10 games at right tackle. According to Pro Football Focus, he allowed 2 sacks during that run. The physical profile stands out too. 6'4", 308 pounds, time at Frostburg State in Maryland, an initial shot with the Eagles, then the Raiders practice squad, a 2025 cut, and a 2026 path back through the UFL. That journey does not scream ready-made star. It screams a player trying to fight his way back through the hard door. And that kind of player, when he arrives hungry at a workout, deserves to be taken seriously. Now look at the Foxborough context. Will Campbell and Morgan Moses project as the starters? Caleb Lomu was taken in the first round. Demetrius Crownover also arrived through the 2026 draft. James Hudson, Marcus Bryant, Sebastian Gutierrez, and Lawrence Metz round out the room. On paper, they have numbers, but numbers are not the same as trust. Numbers do not block an edge rusher on third down. Numbers do not protect Drake Maye when the season gets heavy and the AFC starts showing its teeth. That is why this workout matters. Not because Ayedze is walking onto the roster tomorrow, but because it shows the Patriots are not treating the offensive line like a finished conversation. And to me, that is exactly the right posture. After years where protection became way too much of a headache in New England, any sign of searching, testing, comparing, and creating internal pressure should be seen as serious work. And I want the Foxborough read in the comments. If you were in the front office room, would you bring in another competitive tackle now? Or let this group breathe until training camp? Because the answer says a lot about how you see this rebuild. I am on the side of competition. If Ayedze comes in, pushes practice, challenges backups, and forces tough decisions, good. The Patriots do not need to protect anybody's comfort. They need to protect Drake Maye. And if there is a cheap chance to find physical depth before July turns into August, New England has every reason to look. When you pull it all together, these 4 stories are saying the same thing from different angles. Gonzalez is about keeping premium talent. Pharaoh Brown would be about fixing a function before it turns into a weakness. Xavier Holmes is raw competition, the kind Vrabel seems to want in the building. And Ayedze is the reminder that protecting Drake Maye has to be an obsession, not a side note. That is the Patriots team I want to see. Alert, skeptical, working while the outside noise sleeps. So tell me in the comments, are you more fired up about the Gonzalez signal or this quiet search for depth? Subscribe because Foxborough still has a lot of clues left to decode.